That expert you're trusting with your health, your money, your future, they're guessing. And they're no better at it than you are. In the next 10 minutes, I'll show you proof so devastating that you'll never blindly trust an expert opinion again. By the end of this video, you'll understand why expertise is one of the most dangerous illusions in modern society. This isn't cynicism. This is backed by 40 years of research from Princeton, University of Pennsylvania, and the intelligence community. And once you see how expert predictions actually perform, every time a doctor gives you certainty, every time a financial advisor promises returns, every time a pundit explains what'll happen next, all of it becomes questionable. But first, let me tell you about a study that measured expert accuracy across 20 years. In 1984, psychologist Philip Tetlock started tracking expert predictions. He gathered 284 experts, economists, political scientists, intelligence analysts, people who get paid to know the future. He asked them to make 28,000 predictions about world events over the next 20 years. Things like, will the Soviet Union collapse? Will the economy grow? Will this war happen? These weren't random people. These were PhDs, policy advisors, people who brief presidents. 20 years later, he analyzed the results. The experts were right less than 50% of the time. Worse than a coin flip. A random guess generator would have performed better. Most people believe experts have special knowledge. They've studied for decades. They have access to data we don't. They understand complex systems. When an expert speaks with confidence, we assume they know something we don't. But here's what's really happening. Experts are just better at sounding confident while being wrong. And that confidence is costing you money, health, and years of your life. The more famous the expert, the worse their predictions. Tetlock found something shocking in his data. The experts who appeared on TV the most, who wrote the best-selling books, who had the biggest media presence, they performed the worst. Why? Because media rewards certainty. It might happen, maybe, doesn't get you on CNN. This will definitely happen, and here's why, does. So the experts who became famous were the ones willing to make bold, confident predictions. And bold, confident predictions are usually wrong because the world is complex and uncertain. Meanwhile, the experts who said, it's complicated and we can't be sure, they stayed in academia. No book deals, no TED Talks, no influence. The market for expertise selects for confidence, not accuracy. A Princeton study tracked financial experts on CNBC for 5 years. The experts who appeared most frequently and spoke with the most certainty had portfolios that underperformed the S&P 500 by an average of 8% annually. Think about every expert you follow on social media, every confident thread about what's coming next. Every person with credentials telling you exactly what to do. Are they right because they're experts, or are they famous because they're confident? The expert you trust most is probably the least accurate. You're not following expertise, you're following performance. And that performance is costing you. But it gets worse. Because even well-meaning experts have a fatal flaw, experts can't escape their own biases, and they don't even know it. In 1973, David Rosenhan sent 8 mentally healthy people to psychiatric hospitals. They faked one symptom, hearing voices that said, thud. That's it. Once admitted, they acted completely normal. The experts trained psychiatrists diagnosed them with schizophrenia. All 8. They were hospitalized for an average of 19 days. The experts saw illness in normal behavior because they expected illness. Here's the disturbing part. Other patients figured out the fakes. The actual schizophrenic patient said, "You're not crazy, you're a journalist or a professor, right?" The experts couldn't see what the non-experts saw clearly. This is called confirmation bias, and expertise makes it worse. The more you know about a field, the more you see patterns that confirm what you already believe. Experts build entire careers on frameworks, and those frameworks become lenses they can't remove. Radiologists miss 30% of abnormalities on X-rays that other radiologists catch. Not because they're incompetent, because they're human. Their expertise doesn't eliminate bias. It hides it under credentials. Think about your doctor who dismisses your symptoms because they don't fit the diagnosis. The financial advisor who recommends products that pay them commission. The therapist who applies their preferred theory to every patient. They're not lying. They genuinely believe they're right. But their expertise is filtered through biases they can't see. Experts are just as blind as everyone else. They're just more confident in their blindness. And here's the most dangerous part. Experts often perform worse than simple algorithms. In 1954, psychologist Paul Meehl compared expert clinical judgment to statistical formulas. Psychologists predicting patient outcomes versus simple equations using basic data. The formulas won every time. Since then, this has been tested in over 200 studies across medicine, criminal justice, business, and finance. Simple algorithms consistently outperform expert judgment. Doctors diagnosing heart attacks, beaten by a 3-variable formula. Judges predicting recidivism, beaten by a basic point system. Wine experts rating vintages, beaten by weather data and pH levels. But here's what's insane. Even when experts are shown that the algorithm is more accurate, they still trust their own judgment. Because expertise creates an illusion of insight. Yale did a study where they gave doctors a diagnostic algorithm that was 90% accurate. The doctors were 75% accurate. But when asked, doctors said they'd still rely on their judgment in tough cases. The cases where they're most confident are the cases where they're most wrong. Think about every high-stakes decision you've outsourced to experts. Hiring, medical treatment, investments. What if a simple checklist would have given you better results? You're not paying for accuracy. You're paying for the feeling of having an expert in the room. It's emotional insurance, not better outcomes. Expertise is theater. The algorithm doesn't perform. It just wins. So where does this leave you? Here's the truth about experts. They're not useless, but they're not magic either. Expertise is real in stable, predictable domains, chess, surgery, engineering, but in complex, uncertain fields, economics, psychology, politics, experts are barely better than educated guesses. What does this mean for you? Get second opinions. Always. Ask experts to explain their reasoning, not just their conclusions. Look for the ones who say, "I don't know," instead of those who always have answers. Use checklists and data when possible. Trust track records, not credentials. This isn't depressing. It's empowering. You're not stupid for questioning experts. You're rational. The data supports skepticism. You can respect expertise without surrendering your critical thinking. Experts are tools, not gods. Use them. Question them. Verify them. And remember, the most dangerous expert is the one who's never wrong. That's not an expert. That's a performer. So in 10 minutes, I destroyed your confidence in experts and hopefully gave you the tools to think for yourself. If this changed how you see authority, hit that like button. And if you want to see your trust in statistics destroyed next, that video drops next week. I'm going to prove that numbers lie more convincingly than words ever could. Subscribe so you don't miss it. See you there.